right, welcome to Michigan Rocks. We have Tripp and Dixie with us today, and guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks to have us.
Thanks. Glad to have you here. I didn't know if you guys were going to be able to make it or not. So we have Casey, we have David, Scott, and we have Adam. So Casey, what band were you in first?
The first band I was in, it was in 8th grade with, it was called Axe to Grind.
David?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Axe to Grind. That was the first band I was ever in.
Come on, is there some information about that, guys? You're making it so blatant here.
Well, we got together. I was in about 9th grade. We jammed with our old guitar player, Goolsby, his first band we were ever in together. And then we got into bands with these guys, so on and so forth. And that's where I'm at.
Well,
You have lapel, so you're good.
all right. Well, my first band was a band called St. Paradox. And, I grew up in Oxford, and a good friend of mine that I grew up with turned out to be my singer. And my stepbrother ended up being my guitar player. And we ended up getting a hold of another guy for a bassist. And we played around the Detroit scene for a couple of years. And then that fell apart. And I went to school with him. And we ended up putting together a band called Steel Rose. So that was my first little experiences before we put this excursion together.
Like he said, the first band I was in was Steel Rose, but before that, from like 7th or 8th grade, just jamming with all these random people, putting together these little projects to play like a school event or something.
Yeah.
But first band, Steel Rose.
Steel Rose, huh?
Yep.
So what year did Tripp and Dixie come into existence?
Right around
Summer of
2008.
2009.
2009?
Yep,
Yeah.
2009.
Coming into the summer of 2009, we all got together. After we, all our other bands fell apart, and we decided that, this was the best group of musicians since everybody else was too occupied doing their other things, so.
There was another member, but when Goolsby, he was in whose band, or he was in your band?
Axe to Grind.
Okay. And so after that, he was in Axe to Grind, and then you guys, all your bands kind of like...
Yeah, actually,
fell
the funny
apart.
thing is after the whole Axe to Grind thing, Goolsby actually joined up with my old band, St. Paradox, and they did their own thing for a little while, and then while we were doing Steel Rose with Roz, actually, he was part of Steel Rose with us, and once that fell apart, we kind of realized, that he had dealt with those people, we had dealt with those people, and all that fell apart, so we finally decided to just come in and just make it one kind of local supergroup, if you will.
Yeah, you guys are really good. You guys have done a lot of shows and played with some really great bands at the Machine Shop and opening up and primarily blowing some of the headliners off the stage as far as I was concerned. And you guys are really tighter now that you're a four-piece, I believe, than ever.
It's definitely a lot different than having the second guitar player and fifth member.
Yeah, there's no crutch time, man. It's all...
Yeah, everybody had to step up their game a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell. Absolutely. So, how did the name Tripp and Dixie come about?
That's you. You tell the story.
Well, actually, I was hitchhiking down a road in Kentucky at a family reunion, and I was trying to get home, and I actually got picked up by this old couple in a pickup truck, rusty old pickup truck out in the mountains, and they didn't talk much. They had real thick, Southern accents and everything, but they called themselves Tripp and Dixie, and I couldn't believe it when I got back. When they finally dropped me off, it was only a block up the road, but I couldn't believe it, and it just stuck in my head. And when I came back, I told all these guys, I was like, Tripp and Dixie, isn't that a cool idea? And everybody agreed on it, so just kind of ran with it.
Not that Tripp Road runs into Dixie.
Yeah, you might confuse that
It's
one
like,
a little
wow,
bit.
man. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just saw a road that said Tripp, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. I always put that together. I'm sure people drive by and go,
Yeah.
what's that all
That's just the story we stick
Yeah,
with.
that-
right
oh, of
there.
course, yeah.
Kentucky and,
got it,
the
you
Tripp
got
and
it.
I
Dixie.
love Kentucky, man.
You
That's
gotta
where my
do
family's
that.
from.
You got to do that. So you guys working on a lot of new songs?
We have about 4 or 5 new songs
Okay.
in the process.
you guys, how many songs you guys have written that are your own? I know you had a lot in the can.
As a whole, we have about a little over 20.
Yeah.
Counting all the new ones we've been working on.
I know you guys been in a lot of recording studios all over the place. What do you have to say about some of the recording studios, your experiences in them?
We've really seen a wide variety of studios with that. We've done everything pretty much from recording in at the basements of the houses that we've practiced at to we did like a kind of a small time studio out in Port Huron for a little while. We did a 7-song demo out there, and it was just kind of a cool learning experience. We did everything was recorded with analog, so it wasn't quite so modern. And then one of the bands that we opened up for at the machine shop, Saving Abel, we did some work with some of their management for a while, and they took us to a studio in Canton called Pearl Sound, and we did 2 songs out there in one day. It was just 17 hours of like just tracking and mixing nonstop. Yeah, it was.
Welcome to the nightmare.
Yeah, it was weird seeing like having someone else be in complete control of our music. Like they took it and they like started chopping it up and they gave it this really like crazy,
It sounded like
thick
Nickelback,
sound.
basically.
Yeah, it was.
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it like good sound quality, but it's just like we've learned from such wide varieties of that.
Especially hearing that digital sound from Pearl Sound and then going to a place like Silver Dragon where we went out in Port Huron and did everything analog. You hear that difference.
Huge difference.
The qualities of everything and how it comes together and the rawness as to opposed to, hearing that somebody cut it up and did it themselves rather than hearing the actual emotion of the musicians playing it. It makes a big difference.
I like tape better.
Yeah.
There's more soul to it.
Way better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Grand Funk sounds so great, because it was all recorded on 8 and 16 track, and that full room sound.
Yeah.
And
That's actually what we're looking to go for on our first album.
Yeah, first official album.
Yeah,
Not
official
all the
album.
demos and the EPs and all the singles that we have out there, But we need to actually get a full album together, so.
So Casey, who was your inspiration? Who was your favorite bass player?
Who's my favorite bass player? I don't know. I don't really nowadays. It's not so much about favorite bass player. I mean, I'm a big fan of like Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. He's one of my all-time favorites. John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. But as far as just like music itself, I'm all about the Parlor Mob and the Black Keys. Like, so a lot of the new age bands that are that can still like keep the old soul in it. It's like that's really what gets me now.
David, favorite lead singer?
Well, the list could go on from.
Of course.
Well, I mean, there's of course Robert Plant, Steven Tyler, but Paul Rogers, Mark Farner, Ian Gillan. I mean, those are all some of my favorite singers. It just inspired me.
Well, as far as I go,
favorite drummer?
On the percussion side of things, I'm a huge John Bonham fan from Zeppelin, like these guys are saying, But like Casey was saying, it's more of a music thing nowadays, especially studying one instrument all the time can just kind of put you in a rut where you need to get your mind focused on the fact that the music is one whole. But there are a lot of bands out nowadays that are doing such things, like the Black Keys, the Parlor Mob. There's a couple others. We've seen Taddy Porter. There's little ones here and there trying to bring it back, and you hear that soul coming out. But it's like if you listen to that and you follow that and you study it, then you'll get what's going to be the next generation. And that's why I try not to focus myself on just studying just a drummer or something like that.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. Adam?
Well, when I first started playing guitar, I was basically obsessed with AC/DC. Angus Young, his guitar tone, the blues licks. That's pretty much what got me into the electric guitar. And then, of course, came the whole Ozzy with Randy Rhoads that I heard, and Crazy Train's like one of the first songs I actually learned on an electric. But after that, I started really getting into Eddie Van Halen and even like Alexi Laiho from Children of Bodom, like just the way they played the guitar and the different sounds they could get out of it. And but right now, like they said, the Parlor Mob, their guitar playing is just so technical, but so just
Yeah, I was kind of intrigued. I couldn't believe the sounds they were getting. It
Yeah.
reminded me of Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
The little things he used to do. It's like, oh my, how did he do that? There's that
Insane
Vox
attention to
9-string
detail.
guitar that made them
Yeah.
real unique
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah.
And how you tweak everything.
yeah. The
they
cool
got it.
thing is the Parlor Mob Live. It sounds identical to the album. Guitars, drums,
Yeah.
vocals, bass, everything. And I think right now that's all of our biggest influence.
Yeah.
For sure.
Raw power.
Raw power.
That's what we're about.
Yep.
Yes. That's a good Iggy Pop, too. Raw power. That's So, what are you looking into the future? What do you see for Tripp and Dixie?
Well, as of right now, we're in the process of recording our first album. We're doing a lot of experimenting with different sounds and everything to get that tone we want. And hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll be all over the East Coast and, wherever we can, whatever show we can play, whatever state we can get into, wherever we can go, we want to be there. So
East Coast, West Coast.
Well, I know you guys
North
played a lot of
Coast.
festivals last year, and that's the way to do it.
exactly,
You
lots
hit
of festivals.
so many people, of all different age brackets, and that's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
You were doing a festival like every Thursday, Friday, Saturday last summer. You guys didn't have a life.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's like the
That-
summer was gone, and it's like the leaves are falling off the tree. What happened to all the time?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you guys did really well.
That
You guys
really is
connected.
life.
Yeah, that
You
was
guys
great.
You guys had a lot of people talking to you, and that, I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, people know talent. That's when you know when they're coming up to you in mobs.
Oh yeah.
That's when you know that they know that there's something
Yeah.
special going on.
You just got to keep their attention. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with ADD these days.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. So is there anything else special going on with Tripp and Dixie right now?
Anything else special?
The album is the big thing. We're doing a lot of merchandise. I guess one of the really special things to me about it is a lot of like what our band stands for is about kind of just doing the musicians doing their own thing. A lot of things in the music industry these days. It's like bands are just kind of they're the faces, and
It's
there's
really
there's some guy
corrupt.
sitting behind a board at a studio doing all the work, or
The
some
politics.
big wig
Molded.
doing everything. So one of the cool things about it, it's really just is one of the things that keeps me going with it is knowing that we're a band that's really like we're very family oriented, very friend oriented. All of the people who come to our shows are just our closest friends and family. We've got support from them from all over the spectrum, and it's a machine that we're building ourselves rather than just kind of having us just be shoved into another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. So you guys gonna do a song for us?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, we can do a song.
All right.
Let's do one of the new ones.
One of the new ones. Is there a name for that?
Yeah, it's called Not Much of a Life.
Not Much of a Life. Here's Tripp and Dixie with Not Much of a Life.
Somewhere down this path I lost myself. Could you tell me what is right from what I've left? Oh, too many know just how I feel. And as we all just keep on running through our wheels, if all that you believe is just a lie, I bet you sit there ever asking yourself why. It's not much of a life and not a way to live, you'll see. Someday we'll see the light and all of our misery and all the sinful thoughts we all have thought so happily will someday hit the mark and destroy us all so gracefully. It's not much of a life, not a way to coexist. Before I see the night bleeding from my fingertips and all the simple thoughts we all have found so pleasuring will someday take the heart as passion goes unraveling. It's not much of a life, I wish you walk and take my word. If all your life, and wish you all can take my word. What I know for sure is that I'm tired. So excuse me while I lay here and close my eyes. It's not much of a life and not a way to live, you see. Someday we'll see the light and all of our misery. And all the simple thoughts we all have found for pleasuring will someday take the heart and catch its ghost unraveling. It's of a life and not a way to coexist. Before I see the night, I'm bleeding from my fingertips. And by my final days, I pray to feel the breath of change. For what now weighs us down, lays on more than soul can break. We only have one life, and this you all must know is true. Ooh, do you? Ooh, do you?
Hello, this is Michigan Rocks. This is the end of the show. We're with Tripp and Dixie, and we're going to take it out.
All right. That was